Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Chalk Dinosaur podcast. So this is something I've been thinking about doing for a few years as I've become a big fan of the podcast format. And I'm doing a little experiment this October, so I figured that'd be a great way to get some material for it, and great way to start. Great opportunity to share this, and just to have a reference for myself when I'm done with this. So let me backtrack a bit. The podcast, aside from the episodes covering this experiment that I'm doing, I want the podcast to be about music, creating music, and pursuing a career in something creative. So I want to talk about my approach, general approaches, specific techniques, insights, and then I have a lot of guests. There's a lot of people in Pittsburgh that I know that are really good at what they do, and I have a lot of questions for them about how they approach it and how they practice, how they promote, how they organize their group, how they do everything. And I feel like I would find that very helpful, just to kind of hear how other people are pursuing this. And I'm sure there would be other people that'd be interested to hear. I know I'm always very interested to listen to how other artists or people who are good at what they do, how they do that. So back to the experiment, the content for this episode. I'm calling it the lifestyle design experiment, and what that entails is 7 things, seven stipulations that I've set forth for myself. That I want to do every day, that I'm committing to do every day, because these 7 things I've identified and believe in as things that are going to make me more productive, healthier, and happier. So, who doesn't want that, right? I know I've always been curious about what it might feel like to put together a complete month, because a lot of these things I've done, one of these things, or 2 of these things, or maybe 3 of these things, and they've had a positive impact, and I really like what they do, but I haven't stuck with it for, a consistent enough amount of time, and I haven't put together the other, all of them together. I haven't put together a complete month, maybe ever. So that's what I want to do. I want to put together a complete month and see what it does for me. Now, before I get carried away here, let me go over the 7 things real quick here. These are the 7 things that I've identified as the things that are going to make me the most productive, healthy, and happy. And 1, wake up at 4:30 a.m. 2, 15 minutes of meditation. 3 pages of journaling. 4, 1 hour of exercise. 5, 1 gallon of water. 6, write task list the night before. 7, no alcohol, no smoking, and no recreational drugs. That's 7 things that, through my own experience, independently, I've done all of these things and found that they've helped me and made me feel better and made my life better. So I want to put them all together. I'm going to go into these a little bit, but probably in subsequent episodes I'll probably dive into these topics a little more, because I know I could talk about any one of these for a while. So just real quick, I'm going to go through why am I doing these specific 7 things. Number 1, wake up at 4:30. It seems a little bit extreme, but not if you go to bed at the right time. And, every successful person or productive person that I listen to or read about or anything, a very consistent element is that they wake up very early. And the times when I've woken up early like that, it does feel very good to be awake before everyone else. If you go outside, there's nothing going on. It's absolute peace. Nobody's trying to contact you. Nothing is distracting you. And just being up at that time, it feels like you've beat the sun. It feels like you're ahead instead of waking up and feeling like you're behind. And that, to start your day feeling ahead instead of behind, like you're on offense instead of on defense, that has a significant effect, because the days that I don't wake up early and I sleep in, now granted there's a time and place and an appropriate and fulfilling time to let yourself sleep in, but a lot of times if I sleep in unintentionally or intentionally and I wake up, it feels like I'm behind as soon as I wake up. And that's not a great way to start the day. I feel like I'm catching up for the whole day. It feels like I've wasted, an entire half of a day or something. So, that's why I want to try 4:30. Also, those early morning hours, that's where the time is. That's where the time is when I think, I don't have enough time to do something, or, how do I not have enough time? That's when it is, I think. So I'm going to try it. So, number 2, 15 minutes of meditation. So I've probably for about 5 years been on and off consistent meditation. And I found it to be really helpful for not being as reactive, for being less controlled by emotions. Not to say that I don't have them or don't engage in them, but there's more of an awareness and a choice of, what I choose to get wrapped up in. And you're just more aware of if I'm wrapped up in a thought or an emotion and it's changing my behavior. I'm more likely to become aware of that and, detach from it if I've been meditating. I'm slower to anger. I'm a better listener. Probably a better conversationalist too, because I'm not trying to interject my thoughts, as soon as they pop into my head. I'm okay with waiting. I don't need to bite on that urge to impose my opinions. Anyway, I've really liked what it's done for me. So I'm gonna. That's as soon as I started doing that, I realized that that's a really helpful tool. So that's gonna be a part of my regimen. I'll get it more into what kind of meditation and how I do it later. Let's move on. 3 pages of journaling. This goes hand in hand with the meditation so well. You're really dumping out. Yeah, anyway, 3 pages of journaling. So it could be about anything. Stream of consciousness. You just want to keep your pen moving for 3 pages. And don't judge yourself over your writing. Don't try to make it sound smart or like good writing. Don't worry about it being anything profound. Just simply keep the pen moving and write. Keep writing for 3 pages. And I learned this technique from a book called The Artist's Way, and I love that book. And as soon as I started doing it, I loved it and got so much benefit, because you start dumping out all this surface level thought. The first couple times, if I haven't done it in a while, the first couple times will be a little bit challenging. I might even just be writing like, I don't know what to write, like blah, 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 just surface level stuff. But after I've dumped out all the surface level stuff that's just floating around in my brain, I'm able to take a closer look at some of the things that are, really affecting me. And definitely gotten a lot of insight. And if I'm ever confused, upset, happy, apprehensive, any of these emotions, and the more intense they are, the more helpful this is. But so many times, the journaling, you kind of answer your own questions. And that's pretty amazing. When you're asking questions and then you start exploring them, and then the answer is obvious. Or you learn something about, well, maybe this thing that you're upset about, you're not upset about that. You're upset about something else. Perhaps something that is in you. Anyway, 1 hour of exercise. So I probably don't need to talk much about this. Everybody pretty much agrees that exercise has benefits that go far beyond your physical health. Yeah, you've got your physical health and your mental health. And not only that, it has this chain reaction of psychological effects that when you do it, it just realigns. When I do it, it immediately just turns me and reorients me into a better direction. So, yeah, if I exercise, I want to eat better, I want to sleep better. Just without trying, these things just it just realigns me. And I just baseline feel better, psychologically, physically. It feels good. And, I'm 30 now, so getting to the age where I should start to take that a little more seriously and be more consistent about it, because exercise gives me more energy, after, if I'm consistent with it. Because, if you exercise real hard, you could be drained. But, as you demand more energy from the body seems to produce more energy. So, exercising makes me feel more energy. And energy is the second most valuable currency here in life besides time. Anyway, 1 gallon of water a day. This one's kind of weird. I decided to include it anyway because I've been curious for a while about this one. So one of my brother's friends was talking to me about drinking a gallon of water a day and how he'd been doing it, and he was explaining the effects it was having, and he was telling me that he liked it, and so I tried it, and I experienced positive effects. The most notable effect being a slight bump in energy. In particular, energy in the morning. So it made it easier for me to get out of bed. I was less groggy, which was great. I just felt more lucid kind of throughout the day. Felt more lucid for more time during a day. And I really liked it. It felt good, so I'm going to do that. Write task list the night before I go to bed. write down the list of tasks that I wanted to get done the next day, the night before. So this is another technique or method that I see a lot or hear a lot. A lot of people do this and have great success with it, and it's worked well for me, but like most of these things, I haven't implemented it enough, consistently enough. So the basic idea behind it is that you write down your list of tasks that you need to accomplish the next day, so that when the next day comes, you don't have to think about it. You just do it. You just have it right in front of you what you need to do. Because this is especially important for me, because I'm self-employed, and there are so many different things that I could be doing, and if I sit around and kind of try and decide what to do between all these important but not urgent tasks, a lot of times that just becomes it ends up sucking up a lot of time and energy, and it's really easy to be indecisive about those kind of things. So if I do that before I go to bed and I just have the list made, then I can just focus on getting that done. And then I can adjust the next day, when I make my next list. But just having a target for each day, that feels good for me. So I think the trick is, for me, it's got to be specific, and it's got to be, doable, or at least, most of the things. Like, I've got to be able to do it in a day. So if I'm working on an album, I can't just write work on album. I need to write something more specific, like record guitar for, this one particular song, or make an initial mix of this song, or make a video for this song. Like something I can cross off and be done with. And if it's not something that can be done, I guess I could put a time on it, like write lyrics for an hour or something. Practice guitar for half an hour, something like that. Anyway, this brings me to the last thing, number 7. No alcohol, no smoking, and no recreational drugs. So this is a no-brainer, right? Everybody knows that these things aren't beneficial for you. At least, yeah. I mean, I'm sure arguments can be made about, smoking weed or drinking alcohol. People make arguments that they're good for you. And, I'm not going to contest that for them. But for me, alcohol definitely, even in moderate amounts or modest amounts, has a noticeable draining effect on my motivation and focus. It makes me feel lazier. Makes me feel less good physically. It makes me sleep less well. And obviously when I'm drinking it, it makes me more prone to make bad decisions. So that's a no-brainer. No alcohol. Because when I thought about it the other day, and, the kind of, I don't know what everybody else's life is like, but since I was in college and maybe last year of high school, it's pretty much been every weekend is like a binge drinking event. You spend you have regular life, sober life in the week, and then on Friday and Saturday, everybody gets together and drinks a bunch of beer or liquor or something. And it's really been that way every week since, for the last 10 years, 11 years. It's this yo-yo. And the yo-yo string keeps getting longer and longer, where you drink on the weekend and the yo-yo goes down. And then you're spending the next couple days probably trying to get the yo-yo back up, trying to get, to a place where you feel regular and you feel good. So yeah, I just want to see what it's like not yo-yoing with that. Consistent flow of energy and feeling of well-being would be really nice. And, I think I live under this illusion that I need to drink alcohol to be social or to have fun or whatever, blah, 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 blah. And meanwhile, I didn't do that for the first, 17 years of my life. I don't do that for the first 9 hours of the day on Friday. I don't do, there's so much time when I have so much fun and enjoy life so much when I'm not doing that. So it's just an illusion. And, I want to just experiment with this a little bit and see if I can separate the two things of having fun and, intoxication. Like, it doesn't make sense to me anymore. And then, the ripple effect of drinking is, I don't like that because, obviously while you're intoxicated, for me, I'm more likely to smoke cigarettes. I'm more likely to stay up unnecessarily late. And then when I do that, the following day, I'm starting out late, so already behind, feel like I'm behind, have a feeling that I've wasted time. And then also physically, if you're hungover at all, even not hungover, just you're starting out the day below baseline and you're playing catch up. And so for this month of October, I want to go on offense here. This is an offensive strategy here for grabbing the wheel and controlling the one thing that I have complete control over, and that is my actions. There's so many things in life that we can't control, but we have complete control over our actions. And I've determined, I've hypothesized that these 7 things are going to help me and are going to make me more productive, healthier, happier. I want some consistency in my life. I had a pretty good run last winter where I was getting pretty into a pretty good groove, into a good rhythm with, at least with exercise and journaling and sleep and stuff, and not drinking much. But I knew that was going to be really hard to maintain once, April hit and we started getting into our shows. And for Chalk Dinosaur, we had a very consistent string of shows that were at festivals, which are really fun. But whenever you have to do that and leave and come back, and it kind of just took me out of a rhythm. And then I went on this long road trip, 6 weeks, in May. And, I thought, well, maybe I could still keep it up and do, body weight exercise and eat healthy and stuff. But, that just dissolved very quickly. I was just completely not focusing on that, not after very long. So, and then I went back across the country for a show in July and to visit some people. And it's just been, every week or every other week, there's been some kind of traveling show related thing. And, it's very easy to pick up bad habits at these types of things. And, that's what I did. I picked up some bad habits. I kind of let go of my good habits. And, now I'd like to get back on track and commit to taking the reins on this and seeing what this can do for me, because I believe that it can do a lot for me, and I want to find out. And if it doesn't, well, I'll evaluate after a month to see if I want to keep, if I want to make this just the way I live, the way I am. There's gonna be sacrifices for this. Immediately once I wrote out the wake up at 4:30 guideline, which I know in my heart I want to do that, and I like being up that early, assuming I've had a full night of sleep. But, as soon as I looked at that, my brain started trying to rationalize situations in which I would be okay to bend the rules. And it was just, I'm not going to buy into it. 1 month, I can do 1 month. I might have to sacrifice some later hangouts, but that's totally okay with me. 1 month, not a big deal. The knowledge and insight that I could potentially gain from this will be with me forever. So I'm going to get all my socializing in before the hours of 9 or 9:30. And there's no reason why I can't do that. We don't have any shows coming up. We don't have any traveling. I've just got a blank slate to work with this October, and I'm really excited to be able to mold that time into exactly what I want it to be and see what it can do for me. So this is already the second time I've recorded this. It's going to be really hard for me to do this podcast and not be a perfectionist and restart as soon as I stumble on a sentence or realize I forgot to say something or say something not exactly the way I want to say it. It's going to be really hard for me to not do that. Now I've got to choose between this and the other one already, so I should really practice just letting things go with this. It's not about perfection, because I'm not a perfect person. When I record music, that gives you the opportunity to get as close to perfect as you can get. But this podcast is supposed to be about reality and insight and just, I think it'll be fun to listen to this in 10 years to see where my head was at then, see what kind of stuff I was thinking about then, as opposed to 10 years. If I could hear myself talk about what was important to me 10 years ago, that would be interesting to me. So, I don't know if other people are going to find it interesting, but I'm going to try to keep it concise and more structured. But, it's the perfectionism thing. I can tune that up as I go. If I keep waiting and planning and thinking about it and never recording anything, then I'll never get it done. When I watched the first episodes of the Joe Rogan podcast, it was terrible. So just remember that. John, just remember that. So, is there anything else I wanted to say? I don't think so. Well, I guess I'll listen to this and... Oh, yeah. Actually, there was something else I wanted to say. So, today's Tuesday. Now, I meant to record this first episode. I meant to record it, before I started this regimen. And I did, but I don't know if I like the recording I made. So I'm doing it again, and being that it's Tuesday, I've already been in the routine for this is the second day. And it's been great so far. I thought it was going to be more of a problem going to bed at the right time and waking up at the right time, but I think all the thought I've put into this, trying to kind of crystallize this goal and this vision and this commitment has made it easier. Like, on the first day, my alarm, I made a mistake, and I actually didn't set my alarm clock. Like, I thought I did, but I didn't. I use an alarm clock, and you have to, slide this thing, and I thought I slid it over the alarm tab, but it wasn't. So my alarm didn't go off, but I still woke up. I woke up at 3:50, and then I think I woke up at 4:50. Yeah, it was So, yeah, it wasn't 4:30 exactly, but considering that I didn't have an alarm, that's a win for me. And then, yeah, today was good too. Yesterday I had a lot of energy. There's a Steeler game on. I had to not watch the whole thing. That was okay too. That's the thing about a lot of the late night stuff. It's usually not very productive for me. It's usually mostly just sitting and watching something on TV. And that can go on for hours. Hours that I could be doing something productive. A lot of times I'm not even with anybody. I'm just up watching stuff. Once my focus and brain is drained for the day, at that point, that's when I should just go to sleep. So, anyway, I'll get more into these topics in subsequent episodes. But for now, I just wanted to do this little outline and kind of get this ball rolling and figure out how to release this and do all that stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. Thank you for listening. And now let's have a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Millville Foods. Bringing you the best in taters and mashed taters and corn products and liquefied corn. Liquid corn, everything's made of corn, okay? We live in the United States of America, and here's what I know about this country. 1, it's great. 2, it's full of corn, soy, oats, full of grains. So that's why I don't get all this high carb phobia. Like, we're built on grains. Like, I was raised on corn and corn alone. My son, he's raised on spuds, only spuds, all kinds of different spuds, potatoes, corn. What else do you need? Come on. Don't give me that high carb phobia bull crap, okay? I am a carb. I'm a damn good carb. In fact, I named my son Carb. This is my son Carb. He's a good boy. I say what, he can husk a corn stalk faster than I can throw a ear of corn down a well and then do a vat of boiling corn chowder. You know what you ever tried putting a pureed corn in the baby's bottle to make him develop a taste for corn? That's what I did with Carb, my son. Carb was drinking liquid corn from the time he could consume corn safely. The doctor said, "Don't feed him corn till he's 4." I said, "Doc, this boy ain't eating nothing but corn. All right, get out of my way and give me my son back."